Hey everybody, how are you doing? Right, almost very close to the end of the week. Hope you're having a good day. So I'm back again with another fantastic episode of the podcast, The Future of Web. The podcast is primarily about Web3 technologies. The idea is to help promote the technology, educate people with the right information, right knowledge, and that is the reason why we get founders, investors, developers, community managers, designers, or anyone else who's building within this industry to come and talk about how their product or service impacts the industry. So my name is Alek, and I'm the founder of Animo Solution, which is a Web3 focused design development agency. We do a lot of cool stuff, right? You can check out our website, connect with me on LinkedIn. Coming back to the guest today, so and also to today we're just trying to innovate with how we do the introduction. So let me just give it a thought about a fantastic person, right? So forget rock stars. We've got a Web3 architect in the house today for you. This Oxford grad isn't just building blockchains, he's building the future of Europe's digital landscape. You might know him from the massive Next Block Expo, but Tom's more than just an event guru. He's a gamer, he's an investor with a nose for disruptive technologies and the COO of Olympics, which is a startup about to blow the doors of competitive gaming in Web3. That's interesting. We're going to talk a lot about that as well. And also, he spots future unicorns at Blockchain Ventures Hub. So basically, he's the guy. I mean, the guy's a blockchain whisperer with a microphone. Let's give a warm welcome to Tom Kopera. Welcome, Tom.
Hello, hello. Thank you for having me today. Thanks for the great and broad introduction. It was spot on.
Thank you so much. We just tried. Normally we've been simple. We've been doing very simple ones. So we have, a new team member join in, and she wanted to try some things. So yeah, so thanks to her, and she's here on the backside listening. But anyhow, thank you so much, Tom, again for coming in. And I know you're a busy man with the next Block Expo coming up soon. I think in few weeks, right? If I remember
Yeah. It's May
correctly.
15th, 16th. It's like 2 weeks away. Yeah, it's a lot of work, but I always, happy to take the podcast and interviews, kind of share what we do to the public.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So see what happens is that any guest that I have. So this is more like a surprise question for most of them, where I ask them to share something from their life which not many people already know about. Something which you can openly share, obviously. A little secret, if you may call it.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a good one. That's a surprise, frankly speaking. Like I'll tell you one. As you said, like I'm a busy person, right? So I do like a lot of stuff, investing and building this massive conference, and also like building my own startup, as you mentioned, Olympics. So one can imagine that I do not have time for much of other stuff. Privately, I am a father of two kids, so it's like a duty and responsibility of its own. And one thing that came to my mind is, and most of people do not know that about me, is that I really enjoy cooking and especially grilling. And it's not like grilling some sausages, but it's like grilling in a proper way. Sometimes it takes like 3-4 hours to prepare, and then to kind of cook everything on the grill. There are different types of techniques, and this is my kind of hobby that not many people from my surrounding, at least from the business surrounding, are even familiar and aware of. So yeah, this is the little secret I can share. I'm not sure if you are still there, because I see that you're some kind of disappeared. Let me know, please. Yeah, waiting for you. Cool, no problem. Most likely you do have some tech issue. That was a good question anyway, and I can take over the conversation. Yeah, you're back. Let's go.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I had a tech issue. So I use external camera and a podcast mic. Both went off.
No
It
problem,
shows
no
that it
problem. I was
disconnected.
just
Sorry.
to quickly summarize for you that the little secret was about cooking and grilling. That's my hobby.
Yeah. So I heard that, because I can still hear, I was still backstage and I could hear that. And I think nobody has shared that as yet as a hobby, for somebody as a secret. So that's fantastic. So what sort of dishes do you cook? Let's understand that a little bit. What sort of
Yeah, there
dishes?
are like different types, like from filet mignon steaks to some lamb ribs and through turkey, and there are like multiple different stuff to cook. I really love to grill the ribs. There are multiple techniques, so I can talk about it for hours.
Nice, nice. But I'm a vegetarian, so whenever we get to meet and share some, your cooking, so you might have to think of some vegetarian dishes.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's
That,
I
that
always have a mix, like meat and vegetarian dishes as well.
yeah,
So yeah.
nice, fantastic. So now let's move on, Tom. So can you share a little bit about your journey to Web3? How did it really start? How did you actually get where you are today?
It all started 2020. Back then, I've been running a software house company, like deep in the tech, always in my life. And then I started to explore blockchain as a technology, right? And in the end,
Mhm.
it was, let's say, it became an attraction for the tech and partially for the opportunities in terms of like financial opportunities to explore both at the time.
Mhm.
And that got me into like collaborating within some protocols, including like Torchain. I was one of these OGs in the community. And then I met some people that got me into the investment side, like people really like deep in blockchain, starting in the early days of Bitcoin. I had a luck to kind of meet all of them. I was a group from across all the world, right? And then since I've always been like strong in leadership, I kind of used that competencies to formulate the group around the common goal of investing in the startups at the early stages. So that's what we started to do, especially on the Terra ecosystem, which eventually
Mhm.
over the years collapsed, as we all know. But it
Yeah.
resulted in some really good network among VCs, right? That was heavily backed by VCs. So I continue my investment journey and I continue that till today, right? But it has been a little bit transformed here and there. Then I met my current business partner from events, so David, that we are building the NBX together. So again, it started all in like contribution. I helped him to organize one of these events under the different brand back then. It was called Currency World Expo, and he seemed to like this collaboration to an extent that we decided to join forces and create a completely
Mhm.
new brand, a new format. And here we are with NBX, like the fourth edition that is coming in May. And on the way, and that's where like two types of these journeys overlap is actually my startup Olympics. So the thing is, again, I've been like invited to participate in that stuff. It's not like I've been there from day one. I joined like 2.5 years ago, and I've been invited because of my contribution, then my investment, and we met at NBX. So there are like a lot of connections between my investment activity, event thing. So I try to keep it like interconnected in a way, and it helps me to network a lot. And that's who I am. I try to always like contribute first, give value first, and then sometimes it happens that I have some good kickback from the other side.
Fantastic. So these are, independently, they can take a lot of your time, creating events, but obviously NBX is once a year event, right? And then
Yep.
you have Olympics and, other things. But whenever, there's a confluence, all of them kind of overlapping with each other, what is it that gets you going? Like, because obviously, as you said, you're a parent to two kids. Like, I'm also parent to two kids. So with the family, with your, these ventures, with your contribution, social ventures, so how do you manage it? What's your thought process? Being at the center of all this.
Yeah, I would say there are a couple of things, a couple of layers here. One is, I think one of my strong sides is that since I've built my own business from scratch, the software house that I mentioned, I know how to build things. And having these 12 years of experience with that software house already,
Uh-huh.
um, I happen to know how to structure things from 0 to 1, right? So this is something that comes very naturally for me. So for someone, it might be like a huge effort. I just,
Mhm.
I do it very naturally. The second thing is creativity helps me a lot because that helps me to come up with these ideas quickly, how to promote things, how to get the right people together. what is important is always like the team, right? Putting together the right people. So I'm not busy man with the events throughout the whole year, primarily for the reason that the event is not like every 3 months, it's once or twice a year. That's one thing. The other thing is that we do have a team, right? So always you need to have like a really good team and kind of to be able to balance out between different ventures that you support. And I think by nature, I'm the kind of person that if I were to build only one thing, that would have been a little bit boring. Right? That's, I don't know, just by nature, I like to diversify. However, I'm now like putting a lot of attention to the startup. It requires the acceleration. That's obvious. And in this period of time prior to the event, I'm heavily focused on the event because that's what is required, right? So you need to kind of manage your time accordingly to the priorities in different projects. Have a team and obviously experience.
Sure, fantastic. So, okay, so we've understood your journey, like you started NBX. What I want to understand is why did you start NBX? Like what was that key point? See,
Yeah.
sometimes what I say is that, you sometimes you have to make your own doors, if the other doors are not opening for you.
Yeah.
Is what something like that of a strategy?
Yeah, there are a couple of things here. I think
Okay.
running my there's always a couple of things, right?
Yeah.
My own software house. That was a cool journey, but in the same time, I felt like I'm losing or not executing some of my talents in terms of like public speaking and kind of being with people and networking, because we supported like very small niche as a software house that didn't give me like too much of an opportunity to kind of be very natural. There's networking and a kind of.
Oh, all right. Okay, is it just me or Tom went off? Hey, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. I'm in the show all the time. Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Go ahead.
No worries. So I would say I wanted to start being more networked this space, right? And I had this decision to make whether to start traveling to other conferences and try to build, my name there, or to build my own, right? And attract
Uh,
people here. So that was one thing. So I made my decision. And then the second thing is like all about my belief that you are a happy man when you bring happiness to others and kind of you provide value to others, serve others, right? So that's
yeah.
my way of serving like thousands of people and helping them to get connected to investors, to different partners, to kind of have fun. Really organizing these events is like doing a lot of good into the community. So that's what drives me.
Interesting. And I think when you act as that connector, you are bound to be connected, yourself for your businesses, for your introductions, and
That's a side
when
effect.
you,
That's a
yeah,
side.
that's a good side effect, of taking that responsibility of being the connector for a lot of people,
That's
right?
it.
And how has that helped you, like in the business side of things, where you were building your own, or maybe service work, or building
Yeah.
your project in Olympics. How has that helped you there?
Yeah, it's tremendously helpful. So if you do have like good substance, good product, good project, good idea and vision, then being well networked helps you to really move between different stages very swiftly, right? So if you need like I don't know, exchanges, lunch pods, whatever, like marketing agencies, like if you need as a startup different types of service people that you connect here and there. So it's easy because I just connect to them on Telegram and ask for the some favors, introductions, whatever, right? So it's very easy. So it helps a lot, right? So that's one level. Driving your startups and network is something that is hugely important. But on the other hand side, there is like another way how it's important in my investment activity, because network of different type helps me to get the exposure to startups at the early stages, right? And also to investors. So I either have like opportunities to invest in a good project, or sometimes I decide to support the project as an advisor, for example, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then I can make a lot of value for them, bringing other investors and some value add third parties. So that's my way of like contributing to startups, either financially or by helping them build things as an advisor.
Okay, and that gets you more busier, right?
Yeah, in a sense, it's like in a sense yes, but it's like I I consider it as one, like doing good. The other
Yeah.
thing is like good exercise, because for me it's easy. I know that what I do is having a little time effort in a sense, but a huge impact. And when I see someone who is worth supporting, like a really like, strong team, good product, etc., I can do it because I can, right? And it's like a lot of help. For me, it's not like a huge effort. Everyone is happy. But yeah, it keeps me busy in a sense. I'm still at that age that I can be busy, right? Pushing things here and there. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think just not can be, but I think should be, because the more you're active, physically, mentally, and trying to contribute, the more energy you have. I
Oh
mean, it
yeah,
flows naturally, right?
that's it. That's exactly what I see, observe, and exactly as you said. The more active you are, the more energy you have.
Exactly. Fantastic. So let's focus a little bit on the new protocols and this. So recently, a list came out where they mentioned that there are some protocols which are just sort of good for nothing. Did you have a look at that list? I think it was by one of the big companies. Do you remember seeing that? Something like that?
Not necessarily. I've been so focused on the event lately that I was not like aware of that list. But you can tell me more about it.
Yeah, so there were some blockchains. What they're mentioning is that they're especially like I think Tezos, and there were a couple more which mentioned in that list. I mean they're saying these blockchains exist, but they're not really contributing to the
Yeah,
ecosystem,
yeah.
right? Do you see something like that happening?
Oh yeah, it's like so what is unfortunate about the space, and it might not be the only domain of Web3, but like domain of the innovation, I would say, is that uh, sad as it may seem, majority of them are not meaningful. Sorry to say that, but they're not generating revenue, they're not generating too much value, they're not kind of able to compete. There's too much being built every week, right? For everyone to be equally contributing. So yeah, this phenomenon is out there, and I think one of the reasons why it is happening and it keeps happening is that we are having a hyper fluid market on the token side. When you compare it to building like a more regular business, you need to put way more effort to secure the financing, then to build the product, and then to exit through IPO. So this process is kind of keeps you going for years and keeps you building something meaningful. Unless you have revenues, no one is gonna buy your shares in a sense. While on Web3 side, everyone can easily start, can kind of easily earn money, especially the Uber market, and then they can issue tokens. There are not much of limitations here. So because it's so heavily accessible, like a lot of people do it, and there is like
Yeah,
not enough quality. That's my take. That's my observation.
yeah. And I found that article. It's the headline was not something to be proud of. It said "good for nothing blockchains," right? And there are 20, out of what they've done, and I was surprised, like by seeing some of the names. I'll say that at the top it says XRP, then Cardano, Bitcoin Cash, and then quite a lot of them that you might not have heard of. And then the one surprising one was Algorand. I think they're building some fantastic ecosystem. Then Tezos. I mean, and their source was block explorers, CoinGecko, Messari, and they put this together from multiple sources. And the follow up question to this is like today also we see a lot of new protocols or blockchains being built for different use cases. My question is that why like why do we see this happening? I mean, then why can't you just have your own databases, right, and just password protect them, and maybe have some hashing there, some of to save the data, and why build a new blockchain, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, so the thing is, people are having like multiple different motivations, right? I assume that among the statistic builders group, including those that build blockchains, there are people that simply see an opportunity to kind of build something with a big, fully diluted valuation and kind of earn some money, right? Maybe that's the motivation for one of them. The other are, really like believing they're solving an important problem, and then it looks like, 3, 4, 5 other teams are solving the same problem, or the problem kind of passes away, right? The market changing, or they've built something really meaningful in terms of tech, something superior, but they skip this one idea that tech is not enough for a blockchain project. They need to be good at marketing, having community as a backing, etc. That keeps them the fuel to drive through the bad times, right? So maybe, for some of them, there's like a misjudgment. They think they solve something important, or the tech itself will solve the problems, but they need to have traction on the other side. So um, again, like there are multiple reasons, and if you ask me why they do not use like the centralized databases, well, I think some of them they do it because blockchain is trendy, right? Maybe that's the case. While others, might have like a bigger vision, trying to decentralize some processes to maybe do it for the reason of shared economic results. So like, there's part of this movement that is more about the mindset and kind of cultural shift, that is like moving the 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 wealth that is behind centralized services to people. So instead of using like centralized services for whatever, like hosting, they've built like a decentralized network so everyone can contribute and start benefiting, right? So that's the distribution of wealth, and kind of more, again, like cultural thing, kind of more mindset and social thing. And there are these idealist people that really like do it for the greater goods, right? And there is something very positive about it. I see the trend that is shifting towards like social fi, and basically this decentralization is not only on the tech level. People are more and more distributed. They change places they live. They move away from their home country. They travel a lot. So people, and basically the world is becoming more and more like a global village.
Oh yes, absolutely, and especially after COVID, right? When people
Yeah.
actually were forced to stay at home, and so they wanted to find new places, and that kind of gave rise to this nomadic lifestyle. Especially
Mm-hmm.
for the young generation, who are easy, for whom it's easy to move to place, right? I mean, you and I probably can't shift because of the families and the kids and the
Yeah.
schools and all those things, right? But the young generation can. And I also feel it's a little trendy because it gets you funding, right? Saying that you're building a blockchain, and now that's the same thing which is happening with AI, right? If you're an AI project, you get the funding, like uh,
Yeah. That goes
right,
without saying. Absolutely, yes. Right.
yeah. So any new protocols that have come in your mind in front of you, which are doing some fantastic work and which are focused to a particular initiative? Can you recall anything?
Yeah, I think the best what I can do here is talk about the protocol that I'm building, because the thing,
Fantastic.
so
Why not? Why not?
the thing is, I know the most about it. It's going to be interesting,
Yes.
and I'm highly
Yes.
focused on it, so I can share some info with you. So
Definitely.
we are building a protocol that is disrupting a competitive gaming as a whole, and I mean it. I mean, it's not like the big claim, and I'll give you the perspective here. So when you look at what is happening in Web2 gaming, right? Web2
Mhm.
gaming for now, it's been like 10 plus years where the free to play model dominates. So the model where you are having usually like mobile games, you play for free, but then you're dragged into some, tricky thing to pay for ad, or to pay for some skins or something, and you start paying for unlocking levels, blah, 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 right? And that has been like a primary monetization model in Web2 gaming, but it's getting too competitive. Like small studios, especially, they hardly can make the living out of it, right? So they're looking for alternative ways how to monetize their efforts. So that's one. The other thing is on the Web3 side. So we've been through play and earn, like to earn actually,
Yes.
and it ended up pretty badly because the economic model was broken from day one. Right? It was depending on the
Mhm.
trade of the tokens. So Web3 is actually looking for like a meaningful use cases of blockchain
Mhm.
in gaming, and in the same time for a sustainable economic model, right? And here we come with Olympics. So we are the protocol with the whole infrastructure on top that allows game developers to build competitive games. So games where the result is actually dependent on skill, right? So it's called
Mhm.
skill games, right? Where people can actually compete against each other with the
Uh-huh.
token competition on top. So not only developers can really easily build competitive
Uh-huh.
games, something that normally takes them months, right? They can do
Right.
it within 5 to 6 weeks without hiring new talents to the studio. So even small studios can do it, right?
Mhm.
And then they can start implementing this different type of challenges. Let's say like I'm gonna challenge you for $5 within some
Mhm.
simple game on mobile, right? And you connect your wallet, I connect my wallet. We have $10 in the prize pool, and when you won, you immediately get the results in terms of the amount of this $10, right? So that's like another level of fun. We call it social gaming with money competitions. And when you zoom out a little bit, this type of challenge is like a mini tournament, a very mini tournament. And
Mhm.
so far, the whole esports world was only like reserved book dedicated for pro players, the guys that has been training for years with a lot of financial incentives and big tournaments, etc. So we think of it this way: with the blockchain technology that is used for organizing these different type of challenges, we
Mhm.
are disrupting esports space and bringing that vibe to everyone, right? So anyone can start initiating like a leaderboard with some, a competition, even with the friends in Telegram, let's say, right?
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's going to be completely new type of esports available for everyone.
Uh-huh.
Plus, from the just kind of circling back to the problems of Web 2, this will be a new monetization model for game developers, so that they can charge like few percentage on the turnover within these challenges as the monetization model for game developers. So they can easily build these games, easily monetize it, and it's going to be something that hasn't been accessible so far for everyone, and it will be. Right. So this is what we've built, the whole protocol where gamers can participate in different types of competitions. Games can be accessible across, web, PC, even on Telegram. Now we are moving to Ton.
Okay.
We announced on NBX. We are moving to Ton, so these games will be available on Telegram with the Ton wallet, right? And that's going to be the meaningful way how to onboard people to crypto through gaming, very easy
Yeah.
gaming, still gaming with the good emotions. So that's what we've built already, and we are now kicking off. And this is like really meaningful application of blockchain, right? You distribute the rewards instantly, permissionlessly. Plus, in the background, we are using blockchain for the security. So every gameplay is then in the end like, cryptographically hashed as a proof of game. It's stored on blockchain as the proof of the result of this gameplay, right? And then it triggers the smart contracts for the distribution, etc. So there is like a really meaningful use case, really like trend that is accelerating now. We've been building for that trend among play to earn times. It was hard to hold the bet that hey, it's going to end up, and in the future we're going to have like a new era of skill gaming with money competition. And bam, it's happening. If you start
Yes.
to see like Mafia and others, they're implementing these models, right? But we do have the
Yes.
whole infra to be like the number one player that allows all the game developers to build these experiences.
So how are you handling the 3D assets? Because for game development, apart from the logic and the distribution of the rewards, one more key aspect is how do you get the 3D assets? Like because 3D assets traditionally are heavy, right? If you were to create a 3D asset of my goggles here, right? So this got to take some amount of 3D mesh weight on the blockchain, and because it's a game, you're building it on real time, right?
Yeah.
So
So
how are you
the,
solving that?
the beauty here is that we are not touching the gameplay design part. These
Okay.
games are being built on Unity natively. We use
Okay.
blockchain only, but in a meaningful way, to plug in the competition settlement layer. So
Okay.
when there is a competition initiated, it connects to blockchain, but we are not adding any blockchain related complexity to the gameplay itself. So
Okay.
we do not need to solve that problem ourselves.
Fantastic. I think then it's a very good way. So then you just have, I mean, the way if I see, how, and say suppose I'm a gamer and I want to create a game, right? I will go to your interface, right? And then I'll have access to my Unity assets, the gameplay that I've done in Unity, and then I'll have, some UI driven link where I can, connect the
Yeah.
gameplay with the blockchain. And then in your gameplay analytics, which is kind of your feature, what you are trying to bring in, I will be able to define, what is the tokenization model, what is the reward model, who gets how many. So if it's a multiplayer game that I'm setting, say maybe the person who gets the maximum basketball shots gets the maximum percentage of the token, right? All that can be done within through an interface with your, like with what you're building, right?
Yeah, that's correct. That's correct. So primarily for the gameplay itself, our
Uh-huh.
product can be considered as an SDK to Unity that modifies a little bit the Unity interface, and it's as our own multiplayer networking engine.
Fantastic.
There's also a matchmaking mechanism that we've built throughout the years. There is also anti-cheat and anti-fraud system that is implemented there to detect abnormal behaviors between players, right? Uh,
Absolutely.
and also those games are automatically, I call it automagically, deployed to cloud. We work now with Google Cloud Platform, and so developers, they do not need to care about where to host the gameplay because it's hosted in cloud. It's done in an automated way. Only you just literally like press play to
Mhm.
deploy the new version to the cloud, and it works, right? So it's all like full stack to build these games without thinking of matchmaking. It's all there, right? Plus,
Yeah.
there is UI for the competitions. So you do not, as a developer, you do not need to think of how to build the UI for creating rooms for competitions, or how to set up the competitions, like the level of competitions here and there, etc. It's all like built in there as the UI. You just need to kind of paint it in your colors or adjust it to your style, but it's built into Unity as well.
Oh, fantastic. I think that's a very good use case. So now what I want to understand is, because you're also building this, where do you see the convergence of all these blockchains coming together, or all they will just be independently and working in silos? Because
Yeah.
you're building one, right? So you're the best person to answer that.
So the thing is, the way I see it is that blockchains are similar to countries, right?
Yeah.
They will never be one. They will need to find the ways how to communicate with and through each other. They will have their own currencies, but still there is going to be some layer of exchanging of these currencies. Maybe some of them will unify over time, but
Mhm.
they're really blockchains are really similar to countries, right?
Yes.
So we need to find a way how to build bridges, and it's going to progress over time. Look at our civilization has grown. Like we've been living in silos, but then internet, roads, and planes, everything like kind of accelerated and enabled the communication, both digital and physical. So it's going to be progressing, in my view, in a very similar way. So there's going to be some level of separation, but it will be scaled out to be more and more open over time, and there's going to be like some global ecosystem based on these local blockchains.
All right. So then it's a little this like far away, because till the time these ecosystems develop themselves into a very very sturdy and like a stable place, right? They will not be looking at connecting with each other, right? If I understand correctly.
Well, so I already observe, and it's not like a new thing that people are building these bridges or some communication protocols between blockchains. The whole trend of interoperability is something on its own, like an attempt to improve the communication between blockchains. So I would say it's going to progress over time, but we do have use cases already now of these connections. And in the same time, some blockchains are more willing to get engaged, and some are like, hey, we want to be more in silos. We have like a big community. We don't need anyone external. It's the same as with countries, right? Some will
Yes.
move forward faster for this interoperability, and some will remain more closed ecosystem. It really
Yes.
depends on the strategy.
Yeah, and that's a very good observation, that you've done. So fantastic analogy for how you can explain different blockchains and their ecosystems. So, so because we've talked about interaction, gamification, how do you see AI and blockchain, like coming together, enabling these sort of interactions? And on that note, I would also request my, guests listening today to go ahead and ask your questions for Tom. Go ahead, Tom. Please answer the
Okay.
question.
So all right. So I will respond, and then in the meantime we will collect the questions. So
Yes.
so the thing is, um, AI. Let me skip the use case of generating content. Okay, that's going to be on the sidelines. So more meaningful applications. I consider AI not as a tech of its own, but as enabler for other contexts, right? So let me explain it this way. One of the primary use cases for me is, on the kind of more general level, is improving the efficiency.
Yeah.
So instead of relying on, humans or some static algorithms, I think AI can improve a lot in, like, for example, yield generation strategies in DeFi, right? So when you start to combine AI with different types of protocols and kind of optimizing yield strategies, that's one of the use cases. In trading, there's going to be a lot of applications. There are already. Right?
Yes, there are.
So that's it. We have this whole like deepin thing, right? So when you have
Yes.
devices interconnected with by blockchain and kind of talking to each other, and again,
Yeah.
there is a room for AI there to kind of optimize the flow of these communications so that the process is more efficient. So this is my way of thinking. Like AI is like a magic powder in a sense, right? And kind of obviously a smart magic powder, trying to improve the efficiency here and there, kind of making decisions very fast, very optimally. So this will be like really great like addition. And I'm not saying like we should consider it as just the addition, one of the pieces of the puzzle. It's going to be very important. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
accelerating the
Mm-hmm.
adoption of blockchain. Maybe give blockchain like even another greater meaning in the mainstream in business, right? But I'm just saying that AI on its own is not that powerful as AI plus some. In that case, plus blockchain has a lot of use cases.
Oh yes, fantastic. I think that's a very good point. And I want to add to that. See, AI. What does AI do? AI just responds to you. With all the information that it has. I mean, we all know how OpenAI trained their people. Sitting in some African country. And they're just doing like 10, 12, 14 hours a day, just putting in the data to make sure this AI model which the OpenAI developed can understand. And then people can ask it in a very communication like language, right? That's what essentially it is, right? And giving you affirmative answers, not like Google where you have to do your research to find the answer. Generative AI is kind of at this point in time giving you those answers, right? And kind of with predicting, they're all predictive models, where they're trying to predict what's the next word.
Yeah.
That's how they try to work. With blockchain, I feel that like not only from the monetization or a business use case point of view, even from a safety point of view, even in deep in, right? So if you have these AI models, kind of safeguarding the whole ecosystem. Say I put any smart contract that I'm putting on a blockchain before putting it, actually putting it on the main net, I go through an AI system which will figure out with where are the bugs, where are the loopholes, and
Yeah.
automatically fixes them. So that can be an intermediary service that any organization can do. I mean, if any product guys are listening, please go ahead and take that up, right? So so it can be an intermediary service. You put in the code, the smart contract, finalize it basically, and then push it onto the mainnet. And then you can give these report that these were the bugs, these bugs were solved. Do you want to push it to the mainnet? Still give the end developer. I mean, that's one of the cases, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good case. Yeah.
Yeah, and similarly, for deep, like for network security and stuff like that. Yeah, so it's interesting, the way things are progressing. So I want to take this discussion, now to a little more light-hearted conversation. Like we've talked a little, really deep tech here for an audience who's, traditionally from, who's not a very tech-oriented one. Let's try and understand what metaverse is. Right? Like, what is metaverse for you?
Yeah. So that's a good question, because the thing is, we've all been used to different types of games, like for example, like Minecraft, right?
Yes.
It's a metaverse on its own, right? So why do we call like metaverse something completely new? In a more general way, I would call it as like alternative digital world. Like it's a context where you can, as a person, you can spend time with your some kind of identity. Call it an avatar,
Yes.
more abstract way, some identity, and you can like perform different actions and activities in a certain context and boundaries and idea behind a world that is having its own nature, its own rules, its own regulations, etc. So I just consider it as a digital alternative space where people spend time and effort, as the most general definition, I would say. And I not
Mhm.
necessarily think that the metaverses, as we call them from Web3, are the first metaverse. No, no, these games where people spend time game and build stuff. These were metaverses as well, right?
Yes. So from that context, even your phone, your handheld phones, your laptops, all these are some sort of metaverses where they're even, book reading, right? It engages you beyond, it triggers your imagination, it lets you forget your surrounding,
Yeah,
and
yeah, That's exactly. You can tell like the ecosystem within the internet as a some kind of social networks. In a sense, there might be called metaverses, but if you start to define metaverse more in a narrow way, where you have some space where yourself is kind of move and see it and observe what is happening inside, it's becoming more towards the experience of a personality who is seeing something here and there and can move yourself. So that might be
yes.
like other more narrow definition of the metaverse, but more broader is like the context of an alternative world with some regulations and boundaries.
Yeah, fantastic. So regulations are important. I'll come to that part as well. Because with Mika coming in Europe and a few other things, right? Do you see that we will be staying in metaverse in the next after 10 years? All of us will have these digital worlds around us, and instead of you and me talking on this application called StreamYard on laptops, I'll put on a headset, and you'll come in front of me right here, and similarly at your side, and then we will be streaming that, and where everybody who has the headset will have that stream going on in their in their space, in their physical surrounding. You see like that happening?
Yeah, I've already seen trials and attempts there were projects
Yeah.
doing so, like the virtual rooms and metaverses for the conversations. Also, like doing the holograms as well. So it's always like at the beginning you've got the science fiction, movies, whatever, right? That kind of build this big vision, what is going to be happening within like years, and then you realize over time, hey, it's happening now, right? So it's usually like that. In the same time, I see that with the unprecedented speed of progression of tech, people as humans, they tend to kind of lean back towards nature, spending more time socializing in real life. So I only hope that this trend of like digitalizing our world will not consume us as humans, right? So um, I would love to consider that more entertainment than life, if you know what I mean. Like I'll try to kind of make the line between the life as it is and experiencing the real life, and just immersing yourself into the metaverse as some kind of entertainment. I do not see any value in having any alternative way of phone calls, or even like we have the interview like that. I'm good enough. Okay, I do not need any Googles, any hologram. It's not improving my experience there, right?
Yeah.
In the same time, I'm curious, like how could that be if I have these glasses while walking through some city that I don't know, and I want to explore more about this city on during holidays? That might be helpful and useful and a cool experience, by the way, right? So I should try that.
Oh yes, absolutely. And this reminds me that when I was in Italy, I was looking for gelato. Italy is famous for gelato. And sorry if there's some noise, you can hear.
Yeah.
So for gelato. So I was, you have to ask a lot of people, right? And so if you have these headset and you look for gelato, the famous gelato ice cream in Italy, I think it was near Pantheon or somewhere. So you can, it can actually drive you, give you direction while interacting, within physical space. So I mean, these are all different. Permutations and combinations of use cases which will hopefully crop up, and life will be a little more simpler or complicated. I don't know how you see it.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's the the thing. if there is like a solid use case, let's look at the Google Maps, right? Now you use it while driving all the time, and it's like goes without saying. And I had this conversation a month ago, I guess, with a friend, like, hey, like we used to drive without the map, and we could do it back then. We could ask people, we could check it on the printed map, but life is way easier with the Google Maps or other type of maps in digital, right? So I think some of these inventions, tech inventions, will become part of our kind of become integrated into our daily life. Yes.
Oh, absolutely. And this reminds me, of a very funny incident, in US. So me and some colleagues were driving in US, and so before Google Maps there was devices, like in US you would have these devices where you download the maps like TomTom, and there was different other devices. So we had two devices, at the front of the car, on the dashboard. So while he was driving, so we came at a V section, like one road goes to the right, one to the left, right? And we looked at Tom, like where do we go? So one was showing left and the other one was showing right. So we did not know which road to take. And at that time, you did not really have those options, where like in Google Maps today, it'll show you if you take a wrong route, it will, get you back to the right one. So it's a very funny incident, I remember. But now, obviously, like I said, Google Maps are there, and we all use it, whenever we're traveling, wherever we are. And with the headsets, I think it's just going to be another extension, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk this last bit about regulation, and then I want to have some tips for the new, the young people who want to get into this industry. So how do you see regulation shaping up, especially in the Europe, your part of the world?
Yes. So the thing is, always regulations are behind the innovation, right? And there's always tech in front of the regulations. That's the golden rule, and that's why. But on the other hand side, there is this common perception that people that are working on the regulations are not so educated, blah blah blah. No, they're not. They are actually very well educated. Like they're really like smart people. The reason why it's not like being built head to head with the innovation is like it's not possible simply, right? So the regulations, they take place, they need to consider different contexts and social impacts and here and there and economic impacts, but they are being implemented now, as I said, like MiCA in Europe, and my take is that it's absolutely necessary for the regulation to be there, both to prevent fraud, some kind of bad actors, and then to enable also like the mainstream and like the big players to enter in the market. So in the end, it means that the market will grow, the adoption of tech will grow. So it's a positive sign. Obviously, it does have a cost. So it's always like the fight between, these undoxed people, fully decentralized nomads, etc. And I just, I'm making a little bit of fun, but I understand them. I mean, there is this shift towards being undependent on the government, on countries, etc. And I think like regulations are not to say, hey, those people and these ideas will disappear. They will have a harder choice to make. Like either we keep in an unregulated space, which is not that many capabilities, or
your voice is going. I can't hear you. Your voice. Hello.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, now it's okay. Now it's okay. Now it's okay.
Yeah. There might be some background noise, but anyway, the thing is, maybe you can mute yourself. Yeah. So the thing is, it's always about like positive impact in terms of market that is growing, eliminating some bad actors, but it comes with the price of less degree of freedom, right? So it's never like black or white. You know what I mean? You need to kind of find your positioning versus the regulation. It's always like every single space is getting regulated sooner or later. You cannot have unregulated space and the big businesses inside. It just doesn't come along.
Oh, absolutely. And I think regulation is very important because people themselves don't have the power to control. What I usually give an example is that look at any traffic light. If it stops working, look how people behave,
Yeah.
It always gets crowded, right? So if you can't really handle a traffic on your own, how can you handle technology which is not even
That's good.
visible like that,
I love that
right?
analysis. That's a good one. I'm gonna remember this one and keep repeating that if you allow.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. Keep referring that. Because it's a very good analogy. And that's what I usually tell people. But yeah, it's so regulation is important. How and when, I mean, we can't decide that, right? It's going to take some time for for the regulators, the governments, to wake up to the reality, and obviously, innovation is always ahead of regulation, because you can't think, let's regulate it first and then innovate. I mean, that's a very boring and and a non-innovative model of looking at creating new things, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic, fantastic. I think we've had a very good chat, Tom. I just want to ask, for some young listeners, the question, some few advices from you. Like, what advice would you give to young people who are interested in, getting into Web3 today, getting into, understanding different technology, either as a developer or as a designer? Let's just take two of those fields.
Yeah, so I think one of the top advices would be try not to mix the kind of financial aspect of blockchain and crypto on top of that with tech and its application in resolving like real problems. If you get too attracted to money,
Yeah.
then you lose the beauty of the tech itself, and you lose actually the opportunity to focus on the real change that is happening now
Mhm.
globally, right? So that's one thing. The other thing is that everyone in the space is very open. That's the culture of Web3, like being open to share. So if only you want to learn something, there's a lot of resources, a lot of people that can help you with. So get yourself into networking, into getting to know people. Just sign up to some community to start. I would say not get overwhelmed with the amount of new
Mhm.
stuff. On the
Uh-huh.
contrary, make a first step as fast as possible and get the ball rolling. So that's the best way how to get involved, like to start.
Fantastic.
This would be two advices, I would say.
I think that's a very good way. And what skills, do you think they should start learning with? Like getting in is fantastic, and you've already given them a roadmap. What sort of special skills, like maybe if they, I'll say, from two fields. One is coming from technology side, like what languages they should learn or
Yep.
what technical skills they should learn, and the other is from maybe from a community point of view.
Yeah. So in terms of development, obviously, still like Solidity is the language that you, I think, should start. Is like the most common. It's like in a sense like PHP in the regular programming, right? This is where I would start, and then and the ecosystem around EVM chains and those that are using Solidity is pretty big.
Yes.
So that's how I would start. In terms of community building, I think like the good way to start is to find a project that you like and ask them if there is a room for contribution as the moderator or kind of a community lead in a country. Usually these
Mhm.
projects are very welcome, like very happy to welcome you on board as a moderator, and that's a good way how to learn how the things work in Web3, especially from the community perspective. That's
Fantastic.
the lowest hanging, the lowest hanging fruit, I would say.
Cool. Thanks so much. And we have a question from a guest. Before I take that, I remember when you were talking about, that you like to cook.
Yeah.
So we had a comment here. She said, "I would love to be a guest when you're grilling, so she can share her secret recipes with you."
Oh, that's cool.
Right?
That's cool. That's very nice.
Right. Nice. And now we have a question, from Christine. She says, "How do you think, this could help the death care industry? This technology and what different creators are building."
Wow. Frankly speaking, I have no idea. I mean, if I were to come up now with some use case, that really surprised me, the question. I would be really happy to kind of learn either your thoughts or maybe Christine can share some thoughts in comments. Because like I've never thought of the application in that. I will be very transparent. I never try to hide anything here, so just
Yeah.
very transparent.
Yeah, so Christine is, and I, we are working on a project. Like Christine is from US, and I mean, what death care industry is, like when somebody has moved on, to the next life, they try, ease the grief of the family members, who left behind. So they celebrate somebody's life, achievements and stuff like that, and how easy it is, try and contribute with a lot of good memories, right? So that's what she's essentially saying about deathcare industry is what I'm trying to.
Yeah. Okay, I got it. So I think like storing things on block and kind of securing them as as a will, for example, for the family, or some kind of precious kind of memories and achievements. Having a footprint on blockchain is something that is permanent, right?
Yeah.
So that's something that stays beyond life in that regard. So having these technology applied for like the permanence of storage for some information, maybe some keys to something like digital keys in that regard, that might be the way to go. That's the ideas that come to my mind instantly.
Fantastic. I think, Christine, you got your answer. And yeah. So, but good, Tom. Thank you so much for coming in. I'm really, really thankful that you came in, and because your, time that you could take out in your busy schedule, and all the best for your NBX exhibition coming soon.
That's what I wanted to pick up a little bit. Like,
good. Go ahead.
We spent a lot of time talking different issues, and I really enjoyed it. In the same time, if you want to learn more and kind of pick up the brains of 120 different speakers and the top minds of the industry, you should come and visit us. Like at least those who can travel and can be there. Like May 15th, 16th, we do have NBX in Warsaw, Poland, in Europe, where I'm located. We're gonna have like 2,000 people and 2 full days of content, 3 different stages. So it's gonna be a hell of a show. So for those of you who want to join us, please do. You can visit our website nextblockexpo.com, and that's how you grab the ticket and learn more about the speakers lineup. It's going to be worth it, trust me. So for those of you who come, just make sure you high five with me as well. I will be there, all yours. So that's going to be a good opportunity to meet live.
Oh, absolutely. And, I see a lot of hearts coming in on LinkedIn, with that, So I think it's going to be a top-notch exhibition, top-notch event, with multiple stage and speakers. And I know a few people, who are already there as speakers, like Chris and, Nicole, I think from the Web3 Doers and, several other people. And even more so, maybe one fine day, I will come back and join there as well in real life.
Yeah, please do. Thanks very much for having me once again. I was a really enjoyable talk, and speak to you at some other occasions as well, right?
Sure. Thank you so much, Tom, for coming in. I'll just quickly take you backstage for a few minutes.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, everybody. Thank you so much, guys. I think it was and the viewers and the listeners, it was another exciting episode. For me, I really enjoyed speaking to Tom, and for all the ones who are, probably seeing this podcast episode before 15th and in and around Warsaw, please go ahead and visit NBX. I'm sure you're going to have a very, very good time and very good networking and learning experience. So thank you very much. Till see you on the next episode. Bye bye.